Hey, welcome to Mink Life Motivation Live. My name is Monica Henderson, and I am the founder and creator of this space and your pilot along this journey. This week, we are talking all about how to use presentations to close sales. And to help me do this, I am so excited to bring in my co-host this week. So our co-host is Peggy MacArthur. She is an owner and photographer of Headshots by Peggy, a headshot strategist, and a Mink Life Motivation trainer for the brand builder. We have Irina Strunina, and she is the founder of Smart Move 360, a health strategist and the trainer for Mink Life Motivation's Life Calibrator. And last but not least, we have our special guest. She is Natalie Clune. She is a magnetic online networker who builds communities and also, I'm sorry, I duplicated that, my apologies, but she is the author of Taking the Sale Out of the Sales. So excited to have you all here. Hey guys. Okay, but the last person or the last co-host is you. We want you to chime in and let us know that you are here and that you are watching live. Beverly is watching live right now. Welcome, Beverly. So nice to have you watching. Excited to hear all about this great subject. Yes. So as you can see, if you just chime in with a conversation, we will pull you up on stage so you can join us. I am so excited to get to know our guest co-host, Natalie. Natalie, how are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to join in on the conversation.
No problem. So I always ask the fun fact, and your fun fact was that you actually use some interesting techniques on how you help your clients. Do you want to share with that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I believe that energy is everything, and we can feel what someone's intentions are, and particularly in the sales process. So, one of the things that I like to help my clients with is one, show up in the sales process, understanding what energy they're bringing to the table because people can feel it. So, using energy work and energy techniques to be able to become magnetic. So, that's the whole context of being magnetic online. And how do you take the sell out of sales? And it really is a lot to do with the energy and how you show up and how people feel when they're with you and when you're in a presentation with them.
Absolutely. The funny part is Mink Life Motivation. I'm a very spiritual woman, and we actually use quite a bit of energy work in Mink Life Motivation as well, even though we never really mention it. Just by going through the process, you're doing that. So I love that you do that as well. That just makes it a deeper, more connected experience for people who are working through your program. That's exciting. Peggy, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm a big believer in energy. And as a headshot photographer, the camera captures the energy. So when you're face to face, it's even stronger. And it is so obvious. We, as humans, are really, really sensitive to eye contact, energy, intentions. We feel all those things. It's how we kept ourselves safe through all of these years, right? It's literally built into us. And so when we understand that, we can come across a lot more sincere and in a place of wanting to help versus in a place of I want your money. So those are definitely two different areas.
Yeah. While Irina is answering, if you are watching right now and you believe in using energy work in your business, definitely share with us in the comments below. But Irina, what about you? What do you feel about Natalie's fun fact for this week?
Well, I totally agree with that. And I myself, I feel that I am pretty sensitive to that. So to me, very often when I am communicating with someone, I feel that this person actually genuinely sharing the experiences, sharing some information, or tries to help, or they're genuinely trying to sell me something. And that builds the block for me when I'm communicating with that person. I mean, I am still polite and smiling, but it means that I read you, I've got your intention, and that's something that I am resisting. So I am personally, when I'm speaking with people, I also notice when I am trying to convey them about something that I really value, they had one reaction, and when I'm trying to get into them, they react differently, and it's all about the different kinds of energy we send. So I agree, this is so important.
Oh, absolutely. So, for us to get ready, to move the show along and to kind of keep talking about our topic for today, I want to help us get motivated, and that's really this first segment. So, why is presentation so important in the sales process and in networking? I am so happy we have a professional networker here because you really get to help us understand the art of the presentation. So, Natalie, did you want to share why our presentation is so important in networking and closing sales?
Absolutely. I believe that everything that we're doing when we're interacting with people is a presentation. So it's not like we are bringing them to one defined moment where we're doing a presentation to them. That's traditionally what we see in sales, and in my opinion, it neglects the fact that they have specific needs or interests, and presentations are usually formed of all of the bells and whistles, and we have to really consider those who we are presenting to. So I believe our entire business building efforts are a series of presentations, and that's what magnetic online networking is built around. So the first is what I call impression. So you think about it, and especially now more than ever, we're spending a lot of our time networking online. So what are the tools that we have access to that allows people to come into our world and for us to find those who we can serve in our business? And those often are, like, for example, our LinkedIn profile. So that right there is a presentation. When someone comes on your profile in 3 seconds or less, is it very clear on who you are, who you serve, and how you serve? And is there that common bond, that connection that says, oh, I would like to connect with this person and get to know them, considering that sales is a relationship building process. So that's the first presentation that you're doing. The second presentation is what I call interaction. And this is your daily networking efforts that you're taking the time to build rapport. And I always say, to become interesting, you must be interested. So how do you find out what it is that the individuals that you're connecting with are needing? What questions do they have? What problems are they trying to solve? What challenges do they have? And really kind of gather that information. So when you start to go into what I call the influence phase, which is your content posting strategy, you're creating content that answers those questions, that demonstrates the value that you can provide to someone if they were to come into your world as a client. And this is really how you take the sell out of sales, is you are constantly going through the efforts of building rapport, establishing trust, presenting yourself in such a way that they then self-select to work with you. So I approach presentations very differently versus you have one presentation and you set someone down and you tell them how wonderful your service is and hope that they say, yeah, that makes sense for me. And oftentimes we forget to include them in our presentation. So that's how I approach presentations and setting up the sales process when networking online.
Absolutely. Peggy, did you want to share next about what you, what, well, one, and what, Natalie was saying is so poignant, but Peggy, did you want to kind of contribute to?
Well, exactly. Obviously, the headshot strategist is that. That's exactly what it is. Your headshot is most of the time your first impression. It's your first presentation. And so if you don't put any thought into that part of it, you're missing out on a huge market. Because if you screw up on the first step, then you got to work double time to build up that trust and to get that message across in all your other presentations. So every single step of the way, every interaction you have with somebody is potentially a presentation, and you need to be saying the same message. You need to be conveying the same emotions. You need to be conveying the same story all the way through. Otherwise, you lose trust because you're like, oh, I thought it was this. And then I see over here, you're like this. And then over here in this video, it's a hardcore sales. And I thought you were just really like trustworthy and powerful. Now you're like this crazy, like, used car salesman. What's going on here? So it's really important that you keep your presentation all in the same energy, all in the same mode.
Absolutely. We have our co-hosts on the couch chiming in as well. First impression presentations online are just as, if no, not more, or just are just as, if not more, uh, important than the ones in person, as they are physical connection and interaction. Love that, yo. Beverly was also chiming in earlier on our conversation, and she said, I use energy every day. I specialize in frequencies and healing processes. And so, even in this show, right, this is kind of a presentation of all of us. Being able to have this kind of going back and forth with the people in the audience, our co-host in the couch, is really kind of cool. Irina, do you want to chime in a little bit on this topic about like presentations and why it's so important to use presentations to network and close sales?
Well, in my personal experience, I learned that, well, we do not have a lifelong story with the customer that we're dealing with. So there is our opportunity, window of opportunity, to not only to show ourselves, and we have to be a presentable and also trustworthy. It's impossible and engaging and interested. It's all kind of comes together. And but I could be engaging and interested, but whatever I am representing is not going along with what I am talking about. It's all for nothing. I mean, it's a nice conversation, but nothing to do about the sale. So if we are going to represent something, represent some brand or product or service, we definitely have to be part of it, somehow have it in us, in our lingo, in our emotions, movements, whatever. As Peggy said, that you have to have consistent message through the whole entire what you have to show at the moment, your face, your material, your product. And without it, just one component, you have a very hard time to convince somebody that you are really trustworthy.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yo chimes in again. You don't want to be a virtual or bipolar presentations, right? Which is so true. So what a lot of people sometimes forget about presentations is you're always on, like um, Disney does it best, right? I know I use Disney as my avatar all the time, but the people who are in their business are cast members. When they are actually showing up to work, they're on stage, right? And that's how they communicate that. And just like Natalie was saying, from the moment they find you on LinkedIn to the moment that it's time for you to ask for the sale, all of that is a part of the dog and pony show. And so you kind of have to be super kind of intentional about how each of those experiences are in order to kind of create a cohesive, really connected experience. And I love that, that connectivity from the beginning to the end. They want to make sure that they're actually dealing with the same person over and over again. And so that is super important. Well, one of my favorite parts of this show is we really kind of want people to stay inspired. And so we give each of our guests an opportunity to actually share their story. And so Natalie is our guest today, and I'm so excited for her to share her entrepreneur's journey and how she got here. So Natalie, will you please share your entrepreneur's journey?
Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur now. Oh, it's coming up on 20 years. I very early on in my career, I mean, I've been in sales for coming up on 25 years. So very early on in my career, I saw that there was an opportunity that, I could either do work for myself or I could work for someone else. And so I made the choice to work for myself. And I think the leap in that journey was a lot easier than it can be for most, because coming from a sales background, I was used to the commission only or the commission type uh, thing that comes with sales. And that's oftentimes, in the entrepreneur journey, you make money by the efforts that you're doing and what you're putting out into the world. So I started very early on in my career and wanted to just bet on myself and focus on building my own business. And I'm looking at the questions that you sent to me so I can stay on track. So the moment that I took the leap again, it wasn't a scary thing, I guess is a good way to put it, where oftentimes I know when you're transitioning from maybe say something like a career that is a salary based and now you're going out and you're becoming an entrepreneur. So I didn't feel that leap because of coming from a sales background. And I think what becoming an entrepreneur has helped me to be, the best version that I can be. I love creating, I love helping people, and then I can create and help people on my own terms. And so that's really, my journey in the nutshell.
Unmuting myself would be helpful. I love your story. I love that you were able to take like something you knew and kind of convert it into something that belongs to you. And everybody's journey to becoming an entrepreneur is so incredibly different. But I know there's someone out there. I always say there's someone out there who will relate to that story of like, yeah, I don't want to do this for you. I want to do this for me. And so I love that about your journey. Irina, what did you like about Natalie's story for her entrepreneur journey?
Well, in my, I so much agreeing with her, right? On everything she's saying, that this is something that I had to go. She said that she had to make this decision in the beginning, like 20 years ago. In my case, I had to make this decision like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. What do I want to do? Do I want to go and continue working for someone? And if whatever happens with this company, with the person, with who I'm working for, I'm again on my own, or I will build something for myself, and I will be representing my brand, I will be representing my product service, and I will be independent from all outside things. So this is something that really everybody has to make a decision on, and not everybody are ready to do that. I understand that too. And I'm so grateful that I met this group of people who are on this journey already, and I just jump in the wagon and then going along.
Natalie, did you have what was the hardest part for you about that changeover?
It really wasn't a difficult decision. I found it to be more painful staying where I was at. I worked for that didn't value their team. I had a very competitive sales manager who around every corner was trying to kind of hold us back. And so to me, it was the obvious decision that, I can go out and I can offer my services and I can help people in the way that I want to be helped without having someone trying to hold me back. So for me, it was a really easy decision. And again, coming from a sales background, I was used to the commission only. And so it wasn't like I was leaving that security that often can be experienced. But I think what we've all seen as a result of what happened last year is that, there is no guarantee that security is really not as secure as we thought that it is, that something unexpected could happen. And how do we put ourselves in the driver's seat? And that was the decision that I made back in 2017. I had a real estate and property management company that I operated for 15 years. And it was in a market that cycled, and it would cycle often and really hard. And I remember when it cycled this last time, I said, you know what, I want to be in a business that I have more control over what happens, right? So it's not subject to one industry, one location, market conditions, those sort of things. And that's when I ventured into the online arena, where I'm like, okay, if I grow this business online, I can be anywhere in the world. I'm not limited to any location and who I can help. And so that was a big decision that I made. But I think we're all really facing that right now, that security isn't as secure as we thought it was. So, what are some of the opportunities that we can create for ourselves and kind of minimize when things that are unexpected happen? Minimize the impact.
Right. Peggy, what are your thoughts?
I love listening to your story. I think it's amazing. I came from a different side of it. My parents were entrepreneurs. I grew up in that. So I always felt like what other people called security, I always felt that was limiting, because it's like,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
you can only make your paycheck. Like you can't, that's the top. Like,
Yep.
what you're making is what you're making. And I know some people are in commission situations, but as a rule, so I've always felt like, in my mind, it was like, how do people live like that? Like, what do they do when things come up and they need more money? Like,
Mm-hmm. Right.
because, to me, it's like, okay, so I need more money. So I need to hustle. I need to do this. I need to and so it's fun for me to see, because the majority of the stories are people coming out of corporate into an entrepreneurial thing. So I love the stories. I love to hear how empowering that is, for people to say, no, I own my destiny. This is my life. I'm going to live it to the way I want to live it. And I think that's great. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, to both your points. So one of the reasons why my husband decided to go to take the leap from working for a medical company into real estate, and essentially most realtors don't realize it when they're getting into real estate, but you are essentially an entrepreneur at that point.
Yeah.
And he was like, he was sitting there and he's like, no matter how, he was on salary, and he's like, no matter how much I work, I'm always going to make the same amount of money.
Yep.
Always. And they're going to keep piling on more and more expectations of me. And it sounds kind of like that's a little bit of what was happening with you, Natalie. And so when you were telling that story, I was like, yeah, like my husband kind of came from that same thing. He was like, I could either do this for you, or I can spend my time, helping someone in my zone of genius of really being supportive. And yet, like, take that next step of like, now I have unlimited amount of money. Like Peggy was saying, I can make as much money as my own skills, talents, and abilities can make. And that was freeing for him too. So it just kind of reminded me of his story a little bit, and how that resonates. Our co-host on the couch chimed in with a long post. I bet on myself is her favorite statement from what you said. I love that. And she says, Irina, you're right. Everyone isn't ready, but you most definitely are. Aw. And she said, Peggy, LOL, they just don't get what they wanted. They just didn't get what they wanted. So love the commenting. Please keep bringing in your comments to add into the texture, as you are our fifth co-host on the couch. And we're going to keep moving this party along and really kind of getting into let's keep networking. And so in Mink Life Motivation, when we talk about networking, we talk about it from a place of asking for help, right? And knowing who you can ask. I just went into Peggy's box. Asking for help and knowing exactly who to ask for that kind of help, and what and some questions that you should ask with that. A lot of the times when we do networking, we think the only reason why we are to network is to just go out and push what we do on others. But the beautiful part about networking is there's a mutual beneficial relationship that you're building. And so sometimes that means I can support you by you helping me, and you can support me by actually helping me in one of my problem areas. Mm-hmm. So the question this week about presentations is, why do we focus on our business presentations to develop our network? And how and who should we ask for help when we are kind of working through those things? I suspect someone like Natalie would be who we would ask for help. But we will start with Natalie. So why should we focus on these things, and also who should we ask for help?
Yeah, so I love what you said about networking being an opportunity to build relationships and not only go out and offer what we have as far as our contribution in helping others, but being in a place of saying, hey, I need help. So I'm a big believer in find those who have already accomplished what you want to accomplish, and then you kind of reverse engineer what they've done. And asking for help can be in many different forms, not necessarily asking them directly for help, but there's a lot of people out there. And one of the things that I love about technology in the days that we live in is information is readily available. So we can go and ask for help in places like YouTube. We can go and get a book and really understand and learn someone's journey. I think the biggest misconception out there as far as being an entrepreneur is that there are these overnight wins or these overnight successes, when the reality is the majority of us who have been in an entrepreneur journey, it's a 20-year success story or a 10-year success story. And so finding those who are just slightly further along in the journey, and then learning what they did, learning what some of the challenges were that they overcame so you can avoid those. And then too, also being a part of networks like what you've created. I love what you've created as far as a resource for people to come and be able to ask for help and ask those questions. And there's a variety of people that can offer that support. So being a part of communities like what you've created, Monica, 100% is great in being able to develop yourself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and it makes it way more fun. It makes it way more fun. For sure. Especially because we get to have cool conversations like this on a weekly basis. So Peggy, did you want to kind of chime in on what she was saying?
I love the way you put what you said. And I've always been under the Ron Stoffer quote here. If you want to look smart, surround yourself with people smarter than you. And I believe that networking is not about how can you help me, but how can I help you? Because when you're in that, how can I help you, then people want to help you back. It's a natural cycle. And not everybody is going to, but the people that you need in your life are going to show up when you just walk in that energy. We were talking about energy today. When you walk in that energy of honesty and integrity and actually caring and wanting to share your wisdom, those people come into your life. And I've always felt like I'm down here and I always try to hang out with the people up here, always felt like that. And recently I was doing a job and this young photographer was following me around like a puppy, just picking my brain. And I was like, oh my God, I'm that person. It's like, wait a minute, how did that happen? But, it's a cycle. You always, there's always someone that knows more than you, and there's always someone that knows less than you. So, be willing to give just as much as you're willing to take, and just keep that going. I think that's true networking to me.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Did you want to chime in on it?
Yes, I do. I really wanted to bring in my one of my favorite quotes from the sales, the greatest, the classic Zig Ziglar, and his phrase that you can get. I mean, this is what he was. I believe this was his business card, sort of. You could get anything you want if you will help enough people around you to get what they want. And this is something that I really, really resonate with. I believe that when we go networking, when we communicate with people, it doesn't mean that they necessarily can even help you, but you could see that you not directly, but somebody else who can help that person. And if you will help them to connect together, uh, who knows what they will create together. And they definitely, if whatever the project or product or whatever they create together, they definitely remember how did it start, and they will be looking out for you, and they will be looking out kind of like how can we help her or him to pull forward, to advertise, to mention, to to help them with their business. So the more people I help, I believe, the better I will be set.
Yeah, so our one of our fifth co-hosts off the couch said, "I love that, Irina. You help others get what they want, and you get what you want, and that is fulfilling for everyone. It's a win-win in collaboration." Love that, Beverly. Thanks for chiming in with that. So as we're kind of talking about presentation, and we're talking about closing sales, and we're talking about networking, and Natalie was, so spot on about kind of it just being so important to surround yourself in community. The funniest part is, so when I do my presentations myself and I'm building community, I'm always like, what can I say that will help them know that we can help each other, right? As opposed to, I need them to know what I do, and I need them to know how I do it and why I'm awesome. But like, how can I pull together my 30 seconds or my 1 minute so that they know, like, oh wait, I think I need to talk to her because we could collaborate. And that has been super successful for me in that kind of networking and pulling presentations together, and then really kind of having those conversations. I mean, literally how Natalie got here is met her at a networking event, and we kind of like met eyes across the Zoom room. It was like, oh, we can collaborate. And then from there, we can affect change in so many people because she has her own network. I have my own network. I'm going to try to stay out of Peggy's box. And
we practice. We even practice.
We practice. And yet I'm still messing up. But like that, like, how can I co-conspire, right? I would say, how can we co-conspire to take over the world? How can we really kind of make an impact in the world together? And from there, whether or not we make money together doesn't matter, right? Because how we co-conspire with each other, we both get to make money through that process. And so that's one of the reasons why I love networking so much, is because you get to meet cool people who you can become collaborative buddies for and with, and you can support them and they can support you and kind of really pull things together. And like Beverly said, we can create a win-win in collaboration. Love that. This has been a awesome conversation. I'm so excited that we are diving in this topic. So we have to keep moving along, of course. And so the next part is we need to help everyone gain knowledge. So this is the opportunity for all of us to give one, I know, narrow down. There's so much. One tip on how they can use their presentations to support and to close their sales. Natalie, I've been picking on you all day. Are you ready? Would you like to go first?
I am, yes. The tip that I would give, and I do this in everything that I do, and how you position yourself from the beginning to the point where you're having a sales conversation, is you always have to be answering the question that everyone is asking, which is, what's in it for me? So if you can make that connection in any part of your presentation when you're working with someone or you're getting to know someone, and you're consistently answering the question, what's in it for me, based on what it is that you do, and you think about it, people are motivated based on, are they trying to solve a problem? Do they have a challenge that they're trying to accomplish or overcome? Do they have a goal that they're trying to accomplish? And if we're not answering the question, what's in it for me, in our presentation, then they're not going to have that connection. So this is kind of circling back around to the energy side of it, right? People know and can feel when you are genuinely interested in helping them versus you're just interested in closing a sale. And there's a very distinct way in how you present yourself in a sales position. And it really is focusing on them and catering your presentation to them, So answering that question, what's in it for me, is the tip that I would definitely say is the best thing to lead with your presentations.
Awesome. Irina?
Well, again, it's hard to disagree with Natalie. And in addition to it, I also will say that it's very important to go along with your message, to be consistent. So it's very hard to believe the Ford car salesman that he is, selling the best car while he is driving Toyota. So kind of that's the thing that we need to be mindful of. And not necessarily that everybody who is promoting healthy food in a perfect body shape, but they may at the same time be using what they're talking about. They are on their way to their better shape. They have the previous images, they have something to refer to. So as long as you are being consistent with whatever you're offering, show that you're using it, and show the sort of kind of results or your experiences, that will also help to tell people that you are not just selling, you're using it, you're believing in it. It's something that helps you. Maybe it will help me too.
Yes. Peggy?
So Natalie borderlined on 2 tips, and I was like, "Hey, that's my tip. Back off, Natalie." This is really good stuff. Both of you, great stuff. So I think my tip would be interested. And I think earlier Natalie said, maybe it was 99% sure. If it was Irene, I'm sorry for not giving you credit. But the more interested you are, makes you into I'm just going to mess up the quote anyway. Be interested in them, because that makes you interesting, and that captures that they realize that you're not just out for the sale, you're not just out for the jugular, you're sincerely interested in A, what you can do to help them, B, what they can do to help you. It's you're actually listening and not just talking. That would be my tip. Listen, don't just talk.
And I would say my one tip is to be patient. A lot of times when we do a presentation, we think instantly, my website is just going to blow up and everybody's going to be there to buy my product. And that can sometimes not be true. Sometimes they need time to continue to get to know you after that presentation. The presentation may have just been that entry or introduction to who they are, and or to who you are, and they're starting to want to get to know you more. So be patient. Closing sales with presentations is not necessarily about, I'm going to do this presentation, everyone's going to buy right on the spot. Although there are some people who are ready to pull the trigger. 1/4 of every person is that person who's like, I'm in, buy it, right? But the other 3 have other needs that they have from you, that they need from you in order for them to buy. So be patient with the process, but continue to do the work of putting yourself out there, presenting yourself in networking events, presenting yourself very well on your LinkedIn page, like Natalie was saying earlier, presenting yourself as a resource, like how Peggy does so well. I'm a resource for you. I may not have all the answers, but I know how you can get there. And by being patient and not being that eager beaver, you'll allow your energy to shift from a lack to an abundance energy, like how Natalie was saying, that energy is so important. And then that really gives you the opportunity, when they come, you're ready and prepared, and they feel like it wasn't pushy, it wasn't too much, it was just enough, that you were able they were really able to connect with you. So my one tip is be patient. All right, we are ending it's time to end the show. We have had so much fun, and I am so excited for this conversation, and for people to watch this conversation even in the playbacks. So I have one more thing, and that is, it's time for announcements. So Natalie, how can we support you? How can we connect with you? How can people, live in the world with Natalie?
Oh, I love that question. Well, I love connecting with new people and meeting new people. Like, this has just been really fun and having this conversation, and I love the dialogue with everybody because it's just really great and fun. So find me LinkedIn, Facebook. Those are the two places I hang out the most. Everything is just my name, Natalie Clune. Support. I mean, anytime I share something, if you find it valuable, leave a comment or engage on it. That really does help when we're creating content and putting things out there, to help so more people can see it. So anytime if you're connected with me and you see something that I share that you find helpful, share it, comment on it, let someone know that it's helpful, and then that will definitely help me. So that would be support I would greatly appreciate.
That's right. My favorite saying, sharing is caring. Awesome. Irina, how can people support you?
Well, I appreciate for the opportunity to make an announcement. 2 weeks ago, I opened the private online community called Diabetes from Diagnosis to Freedom. And that is community that geared up towards helping people who had been diagnosed with diabetes and they need support. They know what they need to do, but they don't have enough knowledge, maybe time, maybe willpower to do it by themselves. So I believe that any diagnosis is a team sport. Diabetes is a team sport. You need team members, and I'm offering a team to help people to get to where they want to be. So if anybody who you know is looking for support in their struggle with staying on track with what they need to do for diabetes, send them to me, Smart Move 360 on Facebook, and I will set them up and we'll see how I can help them.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. All right. Peggy, what about you?
I am headshotsbypeggy.com, Headshots by Peggy on all social media. I am the headshot strategist. I am here to help you make an impactful first impression. But everybody in this room knows that it's just Wedding Grand Central right now. Like, that's it. Like, I am going to not be on the show the next couple of weeks because I'm going to go get married and then go relax for a bit. But I'm going to miss you guys. And I know that it's going to be amazing. And I just may be the fifth viewer from the couch, leaving my comments because, I have a hard time being quiet.
We're going to have a Ron Stafford quote.
Got to have a Ron Stafford quote. You guys can't survive without knowing.
Love that. Yo is congratulating you, Irina, on your thing. I love that our audience gets to chime in as well. Audience members, if you have announcements that you want to drop, go ahead and drop those in. We'll kind of post those as well. So one of the things, and then of course she had something to say about Peggy's.
She's probably tired of hearing about this wedding thing.
Absolutely. So the announcements for Mink Life Motivation, if you haven't been getting the announcements daily, it's okay. There is one particular one that I want you to know, and that is we do have a community, we do have courses, and we do have conferences. But right now, we are focused on filling those conferences because it's time to level up, baby. And that means we are looking for speakers for our conferences coming up, Los Angeles, Sydney, Johannesburg, and London. The dates are set already, and we need you as a speaker to support us through this. The applications are open now on nextglobalvirtualconference.com. Click Become a Dynamic Speaker, and it's a 3-step process to so your voice can be amplified to literally the world. So that is our announcements. I also want to leave you with the quote: "Presenting your product requires requires people to buy into you," and that's directly out of our presentations portion of the Influence Booster. And I want you to remember that we are, one of my favorite slides is this little credits part, because that means it's time to go. But before we go, we have one announcement from our audience. Look at that, chiming in. living by the motto, what's in it for them, and listening is key to stay in the moment of the conversation to really hear the message you sent. Happy wedding. All right. So with that, we are going to get these things going. Everyone's saying great show and they're enjoying it. We love that. So with that, we are going to give you your credits. I would like to thank my co-host Natalie for being here and hanging out with us. Also, Peggy, Andrea, we love you. She's with her child. And Irina for sitting in for Andrea last minute. We appreciate you. Remember, you have the power to activate the vision within. Don't be a stranger. Come and hang out with us in the Mink Life universe. We love you, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.